Thank you to everybody who's tuning in. I'm making this video specifically for a few people that consistently ask me about the Epstein files. They ask me why my group that I'm supporting, which I wear a red MAGA hat in my videos, why we pushed so hard initially um, to get the Epstein files, and why all of a sudden we had to pull back, and why we won't be able to release them until around the year 2030. There's a good reason, and it's because the Epstein files, if you open them, you will also be opening the COVID files as far as the injections. Now, this isn't a video about medical misinformation. This is going to more so be a history lesson that many people did not know or either forgot or did not understand. I will explain to you the science behind it. I will explain to you, because of the science, you know who was targeting, and it will help you understand why we cannot release them now. It will serve no purpose. What's done is done. There is no point of me telling you to do something or not to do something. It's over. That part is over. Whoever was going to do it has done it. And we are now moving past that into the okay, what's going to be the intended outcome? What was the effect in the safe and effective? It was safe for certain people. It was effective in the targeted demographic. The effect is what we are seeing happen now. The best way for me to explain this, because this is a video that's going to be shown for future references, people will refer back to this video, is that one size fits all doesn't work for everything. Let me show you.
I guess this is an opportunity to bring up Jeff Epstein. So, people sometimes wonder, like we're scientists, hanging out with him to get with these young women or something. I know scientists. There are some scientists like that. They were spending time with him because he was giving their laboratories money that they didn't have to write grants for.
Why was he doing that, though?
Oh, there are very strong opinions. I never met him. I know people who knew him. But he clearly understood social engineering. He understood that rich people they can get anything they want, except the one thing they can't easily control is their reputation, because that requires other people's perceptions. And just being rich doesn't make you necessarily respected. By certain people, yes, by certain people, no. So he understood that very wealthy people feel more important and can derive more sense of self-respect when they're surrounded by brilliant people. And he was very good at bringing truly brilliant people into that mix. People like Murray Gell-Mann, who discovered the quark, right? He's a particle physicist. I mean, head of the Santa Fe Institute, Nobel Prize. I mean, Gell-Mann used to pick on Richard Feynman. He was one of the few people who could maybe not verbally joust with him, but at a scientific level could pin that guy. So they were on more or less equal tier, but Gell-Mann was right up there. So Epstein understood, like, bring around the Gell-Manns, bring around the top genetic researchers from Harvard. By doing that, he made these rich people feel like they were in the company of interesting, important people.
Interesting.
And why would scientists spend time with rich people? I'll be really honest. I do a lot of work for these days for talking about science and trying to generate science philanthropy. That's a big part of my life now, trying to generate money to give to studies that are really interesting and valid. We could talk about that if you like.
Well, I played that video to show you that there's things that people never bring up that always confuse me about the Epstein case and Epstein Island. Everyone brings up the politicians. Almost nobody brings up the scientists. Jeffrey Epstein's island was also a massive laboratory. they were studying there, and they were doing human experiments. If you want to know where they received the humans for the experiments from, you can trace them back to the earthquake in Haiti back in the early 2000s. They have records of children, black children, that were all taken to Epstein Island. The children that were fair skinned, the blonde haired children, the girls that you guys hear about with the politicians, they were there for pleasure and for honeypot operations, the blackmail stuff. But the bigger side of the entire Epstein case, which is why we can't release it, is the science aspect. What were they studying? What were they doing? The reason that the kids, they were taken from the Caribbean, from West Africa, from Haiti, all those kids shared one thing in common. They had dark pigment. It's been theorized that that scientists have been trying to find race-based bioweapons since the days of the Third Reich. The problem is with humans, it's not possible to do because genetically we're all mixed. You might appear to be one race, but 2 generations back, your parents are from another part of the world and you're just not expressing those traits. The only thing you can really do is look for genetic similarities between people and target those. That's it. That's the closest you can come to creating a race-based bioweapon. They tried to make weapons in the Ukraine, that they found those labs, and they were taking people from Russia, and they were trying to make weapons that would affect them, but not the Russians, but not the Ukrainian cousins. It's not possible. They failed. Therefore, they could not make something that would harm one without harming the other. Because the science is not exact, even if you do make something that's specifically for one group, if you give it to other groups, there will be some that will be affected by it, even if it's specifically only designed to affect people with certain particular physical traits. Because there's no other way to distinguish between humans. There's certain science that people don't understand that I will try my best to explain to you. I'll go ahead and give you a quick demonstration of why this cannot come out until after the year 2030. The reason I say 2030 is because at that rate, 13% will be 4% at the rate we're going right now. At this rate now, in 5 years, we're estimating a loss of over 10 million from one particular group. And no one's keeping score besides me. I do see that group that is 13%. The numbers could shift down to 4% by the year 2030 once it has ran its course. The issue is there's a variable that Epstein was calculating that Bill Gates did not calculate. According to the history, Bill Gates was actually a part of this research. Bill Gates also stabbed Epstein in the back and stole his research. The problem is Epstein was heavily involved in his research. He didn't get everything. The calculations that Bill Gates was missing when it came to the Epstein research for the bioweapon was the sun factor. There is an element of lighting of a certain particular type of light that is required for what they put into people to activate and to work properly the way it was designed. And it's not necessarily a mechanism, it's more so there's something that's alive. Now, I want to go into details about it. I just don't know how much on YouTube I can talk about it but I'll try to dance around it and say this is a hypothetical fictional scenario. The creature that was inside the tubes that went into the arms of these fictional people in this fictional story, it was the eggs. The larva hatch inside of a warm body, and this creature grows. The reason that it came in two is because the first one, they said, would rewrite the operating system in your cells. Another way to put that was that it turns off your immune system, because your immune system is also inside your cells, your God's own nanotechnology. It turns it off temporarily. Then you're supposed to take the second one. You cannot take the second one first because your body's immune system would attack the organism as a foreign entity. So that's why you had to take them in a particular order. So that way your immune system is off. Now, if this grows past a certain point inside your body, even when your immune system turns back on, it won't be able to harm said hypothetical creature. That's the part that Gates did not calculate. They did to a point. The purpose of we need you to stay home and stay indoors was to keep you out of the sun. This is the thing. We call this the Superman effect. In the comic books, when Superman needs to regenerate, he flies into space and the sun heals him. In this situation, if you took the first one, your immune system turns off. Now, it was off for around 10 months. That's what our best calculations is, 10 months. If you lived in a state that had a lot of sunshine, that would go down to 3 months, maybe 4, before your immune system turned back on. But that's not enough time for the creature to grow big enough so that the immune system can't harm it. So they needed you to stay indoors. California was a testing ground. That's why they did the heavy cloud seeding from 2022 until 2023. We experienced extreme rain for the entire year and a half due to cloud seeding. We even had our first tropical storm in the West Coast's history during this period. The sun was always blocked out for a year and a half, almost 2 years in California. But the results were magnificent. I remember when this happened to LeBron James's son. Realistically, that's the only reason why he's in the NBA. That was a part of the negotiations, because if not, then his father was going to speak out to his community about what happened when his son took it, and that would stop them from taking it. This was specifically designed for LeBron James and his son. This was for them. They are the only people that the entire marketing campaign targeted, from Tyler Perry to their rappers, their favorite actors, politicians. Everybody promoting this came from one community only. Sure, other people were given it, but they did not pressure other people. It was not made for them. It was only made for LeBron. So what happened to LeBron James' son is what is happening to all of my friends and family in California, because that's where they blocked out the sun. For this to work, you have to have no natural sunlight. You cannot have even yellow incandescent light bulbs. You can only have LED light on your skin and going into your eyes. The LED light, once the creature gets to a certain point, can eventually trigger an epileptic type shock in your body, which will lead to a coronary. That's why they needed to keep you in the dark so that this thing can grow. Once it gets to a certain size, it can induce an epileptic type shock, and you would be none the wiser. You would just think the person had a stroke. You would think they just had a natural heart attack. You would think that there's just something else wrong with them. You would not suspect this. I'm explaining it to you the best way I can without violating any guidelines. Let me give you an example. This is what's happening to all of my friends and family that are big, strong men that are dark in California and around the world that were involved in it. Well, not around the whole world, Western countries formerly under the Commonwealth. Those are the only countries they did this. Nobody else. English speaking countries formerly under the Commonwealth.
First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everybody that showed love, supported, prayed, and just that stuck with me through this whole time, you know. So I was diagnosed with a heart condition called SVT. It's a super long word. So if y'all curious, just look that up, please.
He's not the only one. They all have it. I call this chapter in our book of humanity, the darker they are, the harder they fall. It's not going to hurt Steph Curry. It's going to hurt men that look like him and darker. That's what it was designed to do. The beautiful thing is that you would have never gotten people like this man right here to take it if it wasn't for their Lord and Savior, Kamala Harris. She is a part of the plan. She knows what she was doing. And that's why when she made her campaigns and when she went around the country, she promoted the mandate and what the mandates were telling you to do. She pushed the racism stuff. She said if you don't do it, you're just a Trump supporter with all the hallmarks of white supremacy. I watched her say it. I watched her prove it. So 92% of this one particular group voted for her. But there's no way you voted for her, but you didn't go out and do everything else she asked you to do. She asked you to comply with the mandates, and she said if you didn't, then you support racism and oppression, and you're homophobic. The reverse psychology worked. Men like this that would have never in a million years went to a doctor to do something, they all signed up to do it because reverse psychology, where they use your own insecurities about your appearance and your race, your insecurity, they use your own insecurities about yourself against you. I hate to say this, and it brings me no pleasure because I have family and friends, but they're all gone now. They might still be here today in 2025. I keep telling you, mourn them while they're here. Every day, I'm getting text messages and phone calls from all my friends in California that are not waking up. They're going to the gym. While they're at the gym, they're passing. While they're playing basketball, they're passing. Having sex, passing. Going running, passing. Doing anything physical, passing. We call it for that chapter, we call it the war zone environment internal effect. If you were in a gunfight and you were in another country and you're about to fight another group of people, you would have a spike in adrenaline, your heart would race, the conditions on the inside of your body would be like for fight or flight. If you're doing any other activities, even if you're not about to get into a gun battle, but on the inside, you're experiencing that same kind of stress, tension, anxiety, the heart's racing. What you're doing is you're creating the environment on the inside of your body that's mimicking that of a person on a battlefield. If this is a bioweapon, It was designed so that right before you're supposed to fight the opposing team, if you could get this into the opposing team, half of them would fall to the ground even before the fighting starts, which would give you an advantage. I don't know if you're noticing, the men that this is harming the most are big, strong athletes from this particular background. Now, say you're Asian or you're white, but you're training and you're taking testosterone and you're doing all these different, you take all these supplements, steroids, so that you can get the physique that you see this particular group has naturally. What you're doing is you're recreating the conditions that you would find inside this particular group. You're creating those conditions inside of somebody not from that group. The injection, it doesn't know that you're not one of them. So it will grow in you. It won't grow in everyone. It grows in certain people. It doesn't necessarily grow very fast in women. This is testosterone reactive. Estrogen doesn't stop the effects. It does slow it. So let me read some of that science to you. Okay, let's go to ChatGPT. Explain to me the connection between testosterone and pigment. This is science that most people have no idea exists, and they don't know anything about it. They didn't know. It's my job to know. It's my job to know all of this. I am actually the leading specialist in the subject. I am a scientist myself. What makes me a scientist? Well, I follow the scientific method. Testosterone and skin pigment are connected through the way that this hormone influences melanin production and skin physiology. Here's how the connection works. Testosterone and melanocytes. Melanocytes are the cells responsible for producing melanin, the pigment that gives us skin, hair, eyes, their color. Testosterone can stimulate melanocyte activity either directly or through conversion to DHT via an enzyme 5X reductase. This means higher testosterone levels can lead to increased melanin synthesis, resulting in slightly darker skin tone or tanning response to some individuals. I say this to say there's a direct connection between skin color and testosterone. So the best that you can do when you're trying to create a race-based weapon is you can target testosterone levels in certain people. Now, genetically, men from his group, my group, we naturally have the highest testosterone levels of any humans. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you should have paid more attention to him. He actually disclosed all of this back in 2020. Dale Bigtree, which is my personal hero, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. filed a lawsuit against the pharmaceutical companies. It boils down to this, to make a long story short. The judge said they presented a case saying that no childhood vaccines have ever been safety tested at all. And the courts did not believe them, and the courts went to the pharmaceutical companies and they said, show us only one safety test. Now, there's 135 vaccines for children that are approved on the schedule. Now, we don't know how do they choose which children in which cities, in which states. How do you know which children get which injections out of 135? That's another video that I'll make for you. Well, when the pharmaceutical companies came back, they couldn't produce not even one safety test. And this is for vaccines that have been out since 1982, since the early 80s. When they couldn't produce that, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Dale Bigtree won their lawsuit. When they won the lawsuit, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was, and Dale Bigtree and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. were both removed from the internet. Dale Bigtree was removed from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. He was banned. The same way they did Alex Jones, the same way they did Donald Trump, why he had to create Truth Social. Don't forget, a few years ago, we were all kicked off. I lost all of my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I lost all of my pages. We were actually hoping before Rumble came along, there was another startup tech company that we were gaining accounts, and they were removed from the Amazon store. What was the name of that? I forgot. I'll think of the name. Actually, I can look it up. Where's my phone? Let's see here. Tech startup, social media startup, removed from Amazon store. Let's see here. Not removed from the Amazon store, removed from Amazon Web Services. Yes. Parler. It was called Parler. We all thought that Parler was going to be our free speech alternative because they would not let us ask questions and talk about these injections. Now, I knew a lot of this stuff years ago, and I've spent my days convincing as many people as I can to never do it. I was on Clubhouse, and we spoke to tens of thousands of people every night. I did what I could. Now, these are all new pages I have. I have to rebuild my following. But what we wanted to do was tell people to stay away because, well, but not everyone to stay away, but just certain people that look like him, that look like me. It was specifically designed for big, strong men that look like me. Because what it does is this creature and whatever else, it inflames things that are already damaged. Naturally, we have enlarged hearts and that's why we run faster, we lift more weights, we're stronger because we can pump oxygen into our muscles faster. This inflames anything that's already wrong inside you. There are any other issues you have, it inflames it. So if you're a woman and say you took the HPV years ago when you were a little girl and you have a damaged uterus, you will now need a hysterectomy. If you have genital warts, it would literally inflame those. You would call it monkeypox or another condition. It's all connected to the inflammation from the injections. Now, people want to keep telling you that there's something called a spike protein. The spike protein is theoretical. A parasite that is literally designed to grow in you, where if it gets to a larger size, you're just basically its host. That's believable. Where our bodies are known for maintaining parasites, but not some that are designed like this one. When you're watching movies like Died Suddenly on Rumble, and you're watching them pull out this white string-like material, those are not clots, those are clogs, because those are parts of this creature that have grown inside of you now that wasn't, we know how it got there because of the mandates, what you had to do. It's now inside you and it's growing throughout your body and it's clogging your arteries. So they're no longer able to embalm people because this thing has grown inside of their arteries, and eventually it'll stop up and you'll end up passing from that. That's the problem. And what it is, it comes down to a timetable. How, depending on what you're doing, you can increase the speed that this creature is going to grow inside you, or you can slow down the speed. Depending on who you are from certain backgrounds, it was designed not to grow at all. According to the research that came out of Europe, if you're Jewish, it doesn't grow. If you're Asian descent, it doesn't grow. It only grows in women slowly. But remember, the higher your testosterone levels, the faster this will grow. This is the brainchild of the research that Epstein was performing. Bill Gates wanted to be the one in charge of it. He stole Epstein's research and he stabbed Epstein in the back and he took it. Subsequently, what happened to Jeff Epstein afterwards, that's not up for me to, you guys can figure out what happened. But the reason they had to blackmail the politicians was so that they would get out of the way of getting this this emergency authorization that you needed so that they could bypass all the safety testing required for new injections for people. Usually that process takes 12 to 15 years. They needed to blackmail these politicians and pay them and give them women and children because they needed them to help them with getting that EA pushed through. The other that was all. That's the main thing they needed the politicians for. As far as the experiments, they were trying to find something that would work on this one particular group. So that's why they brought the kids from Haiti, from West Africa. It's not as easy to get American kids, but it came out that Fauci was experimenting on Black orphans from the state of New York when he was doing his AIDS research, and a lot of those kids passed away. It wasn't just beagles; it was human kids. I'm fortunate enough that I can talk on Rumble, and if I say it a certain way, I can sit here and talk on YouTube. It's because I'm not giving any medical advice to anyone. I'm just talking about a fictional story that took place in a universe far, far away. Some of the names are similar, but so again, now, if you found out that there was a bioweapon made specifically for one group in this country, and you knew that they can say, well, Trump was the one who pushed warp speed. This came out way before warp speed. This was around, I know it was around as early as 2010 when they tried to push the swine flu. They wanted to inject everybody with this. They wanted to try this back then. They couldn't get the authorization. That's why the World Economic Forum had to penetrate everyone's cabinets. That's why so did the Zionists. They had to get this EA pushed through. This one demographic has been agreed upon by the world to be the one thing that's holding back our countries and our society. And they want this one particular group removed. No one else was willing to do anything about it. Everyone agreed to it. Trump wouldn't do it, so they kicked him out of office and they put Biden in. Biden and Harris was happy to go along with this. I remember when Biden said, our patience is wearing thin. And they celebrated anything and everybody that was Black because they wanted you as a Black person to trust them and to do what they're asking you to do. The problem is because of the sunshine in certain states, that's why it doesn't work as fast on people in Texas, Tennessee, Florida, places where they have high Black populations. You're not seeing the numbers as fast yet. You're really just seeing the results in California, and now it's because they blocked out the sun. States like Texas and Tennessee and Florida have gotten ahead of this, and they've outlawed cloud seeding over their states. So now how are you going to get this creature to grow in them if you are stunning the growth by keeping the sun out in these places? That's a problem. And that's why Bill Gates went to the UN to try to see if he can get permission to block out the sun for the world. They need this to work inside everyone's bodies faster because it's going to be too much of a coincidence. No one's noticing now. A lot of the death and injuries we're seeing are in California. Eventually, people are going to put two and two together. I'm just putting it together for you ahead of time so you can explain it to other people in the future what happened. You need to know. Now, when everybody notices that California is experiencing all these problems, and the only difference is, well, it's dark and it's gloomy, and they're continuing to block out the sun, the governor approves it, they're going to make the connections. But if it came out, they're going to try to say, well, Trump was involved. What that would do is create unrest in the country, and it wouldn't make a difference, but it would create a lot of issues. Right now, because we're pushing forth the agenda to bring our country back under the control of nationalists and patriots, that would just be a unneeded headache from that particular group, which is known for protesting. What's done is done. That group will be decimated in the next few years. So once their numbers are down low enough, then this information can come out. Because at that point, there won't be anybody to protest. So that's why I keep telling people, collect your Black memorabilia, t-shirts, Jordans, music, culture. We're going to need those. We're going to want to preserve them. We're going to need like reservations for their group. You know, everyone has access to the same internet. We all have Twitter. We see the crime. We see the violence. There are just some people who were willing to do something about it that nobody else was willing to do. There were some people that have the resources, had the money, and had the tenacity to actually go through with it. And they did. We don't need that complicating what Trump is doing. Trump wasn't involved. They took Trump out of there, put the people in who were involved, and those people did a bang-up job when it came to pushing this into everybody. Well, at least the target demographic. Us conservatives told you to go fuck yourself. Remember, 92% of his people vote Democrat. They're not conservatives. So they fell for the banana in the tailpipe. They got to deal with it. All of my friends and their family members are now all sick and passing in California. Not the women, not as fast, mainly the men. And there's nothing we can do about it. It's spilled milk, so this is not about do it or don't do it. That's over. That talk's done. Now we just talk about what do we do in the future going forward. I made this video to put it on record about how it works, who it was designed for. Don't believe me or you want more proof? Go to my page. These are all people that were fully complied. And you will see that I keep score right here on the Safe and Effective podcast. Well, I mean, this is actually one of the most recent victims. This is Arthur Jones, NFL defensive end and brother of John Jones, passed away at 39, heart attack. My good friend who just turned 29, he called me last week. He's getting a pacemaker installed at 29 years old. He complied to keep his job a few years ago. So you think you can dance winner at 36 years old. The darker they are, the harder they fall. Wife of college football, his wife passed away unexpectedly, suddenly. Aaliyah Ali Walden, the Mercer volleyball player, a short battle with cancer, turbo cancer. Warning, might raise risk of cancer. I warned you. I warned everyone. People didn't want to listen. A hard head will make a soft ass. That's how it works. Stockholm Marathon winner, Shwarga Alini, 30 years old, athletic, in shape, works out. If you want to survive it, no more going to the gym, no more working out, no flying on airplanes, and start taking estrogen. I'll play this last video before I end this video so you guys can understand what I'm talking about a little bit better.
All right, Deion Sanders, 57 years old, bladder cancer. I think for a lot of us, we keep hearing this same refrain and it's getting a little alarming. Are we just hearing more about it or is it actually happening more frequently?
Well, you know, I'm broadcasting from Dallas, and here in Dallas, we love Deion Sanders, former Dallas Cowboy, absolutely, two-way player, played baseball, incredible sports figure, incredible father and family man. He's been racked with COVID-19 vaccine complications from the very beginning. He had a family history of peripheral arterial disease. He previously had turf toe when he played, and so he had altered anatomy of his foot. He developed COVID-19 vaccine blood clots, arterial and venous, And several years ago, after he was pushing the vaccine hard, we know he took multiple doses. He nearly lost his leg. He had multiple surgeries. He made a docuseries on this. It's been absolutely tragic. He didn't put two and two together that the vaccines had promoted his lower extremity blood clot syndrome. And now we hear that he has severe invasive bladder cancer requiring a total replacement of the bladder. It's essentially unheard of. I've never seen that in my clinical practice in a man in his 50s.
One of my other good friends, Christopher. Matter of fact, let's go to his Facebook page. He just had to do the same thing. Not to use him as an example, but it's, I'll be honest with you. We're all going through it right now, but we're going through it together. He just had surgeries to have different organs removed out of his body. Now, this is somebody that used to argue and fight with me about Trump and about the injections and about what should be done. And he works out every day now that he's out of the hospital. And he's a family man like Dion as well. And I prayed for him, even though me and him used to fight and argue on here. I didn't want to hear about this. He's a father. And I just, but the thing is, I warned him, I begged, and he'll tell you, if you ever contact him, you'll ask him, you and Rico used to talk? And he'll tell you that I begged him. My coworker who ran softball mentioned that it's been a journey. My original cancer diagnosis was in February. He's a very young man. And initially, they thought it metastasized to the bone. So I was on hormones that depleted my testosterone. Remember, this is a testosterone reactive, and the hospitals know this now. Moffitt downgraded from the original cancer diagnosis from Orlando Health, and the prognosis allowed us to see surgery as a viable option. Hadn't felt normal since the original hormone shot to take the effect. Now I'm starting to feel like me again. PSA, check post-surgery in October, and we'll go from there. Yeah, he had I believe his gallbladder and something else removed, and he could have passed. So some people are getting lucky, but this does deplete your body, and what it does, it lowers, it cuts your lifespan pretty much in half, of what you would have typically lived to be without any outside interference. So he's not, like I said, my other friend is not the only one. Everyone's going through this. I'm losing friends every single day. Deion Sanders is, he has great medical attention, but if you don't get it quick enough, you're a goner.
This is a very, very serious surgery. They have to take part of the colon, refashion the bladder, connect the ureters, the urethra. This is a big deal. It's actually a modern surgical miracle that he's had complete extirpation of the bladder. But we have to ask the question, why? And until oncologists and surgeons and the victims themselves, until they ask the question, could the COVID-19 vaccine be related to what we call a turbo cancer? That is a very aggressive cancer. We're not going to get a level set on reality. There are now thousands of papers pointing to the fact that the new genetic messenger RNA vaccines could promote cancer.
Again, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he once said that the vaccine schedule all vaccines are an attack on black boys. He said that because all injections, and then what that does is makes you question, do they even exist? None of us are able to independently check the ingredients. As of right now, it is my belief that I do not know they actually even exist. They tell me that's what it is, and go get them, and you get them from Walgreens, and you take them so you can go to school. I don't know they exist because I don't know the ingredients. And according to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the science behind it, the reason they're an attack on black boys is because black boys have the highest testosterone levels of all boys, and these affect their testosterone reactive. Deion Sanders is obviously a high testosterone man. So was DMX with his deep voice and all the other black celebrities that passed on the day they took it. Same day. And they're gone now. And every day more and more are disappearing and no one's ringing the alarm besides me. Share the video, talk about it amongst your friends and your family. There's really nothing you can do right now. If you did and you're black, there's no detoxing. I was with Hocus for a long time. We went through all the research. There's no way to get this out of your bloodstream. It's in there. There's no way to kill it without killing you. And because of the other research from UC Davis of the Hydra, we don't even know if when your body dies and you die, if this thing is still alive, growing in you. Because according to UC Davis, California, the Hydra vulgaris is immortal. And this is a variation of the Hydra. The Hydra vulgaris they studied is freshwater. Apparently, this one is aluminum based. That's also from Dr. Frank out of Austria. I'm happy that I could go ahead and make this video. Hopefully more people will share it and see it and put some eyes on it. If you have any questions, send me a message. Again, all vaccines are safe and effective. This is just a hypothetical story about a fake scenario. Don't kill my page, YouTube mods. I appreciate you. Thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to Deion Sanders, but my friend, you promoted this and you fell on your own sword. My sympathy for you is null and void. It's null. It's not there. There is no sympathy. You fell on your own sword. You promoted something and you had no idea what it really does, and you should have been more careful about that. You helped doom your entire people. You helped doom your own people. Can't feel like it's horrible. So I can't feel sorry for it. If you guys have any questions or you want to talk about it, you know where to find me. Right Wing Rico Limbaugh, or the Single Boyfriend. See you shortly.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.